and welcome back to the D4U USA channel. If this is your first time here, I am so happy that you are joining us because this is the place where we as immigration experts help entrepreneurs and professionals live their American dream through their business, their investment, and their profession. I am attorney Mari Ribeiro, a lawyer licensed in Florida, and today we're going to be talking about what is a request for evidence and what do I do if I get one after I filed my EB-2 National Interest Waiver petition. Now, before we get started with today's topic, while yes, I am an attorney, it's important that you understand that I am not your attorney unless we have a written agreement that says otherwise. So everything we talk about today is going to be for educational purposes only, and it should not be considered for legal advice. If you do require legal advice, I am leaving our email around this video so that you can reach out to us, contact us, and we'll be more than glad to guide you with your EB-2 National Interest Waiver and give you particular legal advice that is unique to you. Now, let's dive into today's video to see what is a request for evidence and what do I do if I get one after I filed my EB-2 National Interest Waiver petition. So you've submitted your EB-2 National Interest Waiver petition and some time has passed, and all of a sudden you receive a letter from U.S. Immigration Services, and it's called a request for evidence, which is also known as an RFE. Now, before you start to worry and pull your hair out, let me just clarify that a request for evidence is not a denial of your petition at all. It doesn't mean that your petition is likely to be denied at all. In fact, even good EB-2 National Interest Waiver cases can still get a request for evidence. So please do not panic. This is simply a letter that is asking for more information, more documentation, like the name suggests, a request for more evidence. It means that the immigration officer who's reviewing your petition needs more information before they can make a decision on whether they're going to be granting you the EB-2 National Interest Waiver or not. A request for evidence will tell you exactly what information is needed to address the requirements of the EB-2 National Interest Waiver qualifications. Think of this like a second chance to support your petition. The immigration officer could have issued a straight denial, but because they are unable to finish the processing of your application, they need this additional information. Receiving this letter is actually giving you an opportunity to present additional evidence to get an approval for your petition. So again, don't panic. You can absolutely get an approval even if you receive a request for evidence letter and you properly respond to it. So now, what do you do if you get a request for evidence? First, you will want to read it very, very carefully, since it will tell you exactly what is the evidence that the immigration officer is looking for. For example, the officer may need more information about how your work will benefit the entire nation as a whole, rather than just a region of it in the United States. So you will want to provide more evidence like documentation, reports, or letters of recommendation that are going to show the immigration officer that the work you're doing does not just impact up the East Coast, for example, but it actually impacts the East Coast all the way to the West Coast and everything in between. So since a period of time would have passed from the time that you've prepared all of your documentation and actually submitted your petition, now you receive your request for evidence. You have probably, as a professional, continued to work within your profession, and therefore you might even have a new evidence that didn't exist at the time that you were preparing your petition. You may have maybe published more written work. Maybe there were new articles published about you. Perhaps you may even have received new awards or contracts or recognition since the last time you mailed in your EB2 National Interest Waiver petition. Maybe the petition for a patent actually got granted or for a trademark actually was approved. If that's the case, you're certainly going to want to submit these new pieces of evidence with your response to the request for evidence. You see, this is why I love thinking as a second chance, because a request for evidence may even work in your favor if you've made more achievements in your work that will help the immigration officer see that you have an exceptional ability and you absolutely meet the national interest waiver requirements. So while you are preparing to respond to the request for evidence and collecting new information to provide to the United States immigration officer, you may also have new strategies to argue your qualifications. Your new evidence can give you a new way to present the information to strengthen your case. For example, if your petition is initially focusing on IT, information technology as a whole, which is a very large industry in the United States, you may decide on a new strategy to narrow your focus of expertise to show that you are at the top of your field, for example, microchip design within the information technology industry. This is a way that you are going to be showing the immigration officer that you have an exceptional ability within a sector of the technology industry rather than the information technology system as a whole. So while you are carefully reading this letter requesting more evidence, it is imperative that you take note about the deadline to respond. Usually you are going to be given about 60 days, which may seem like a lot of time, but in reality can go by very quickly. You cannot miss this deadline, otherwise you absolutely risk your application being denied. So in summary, what do you do if you get a request for evidence? First, do not panic, because a request for evidence is not a denial, but in fact a second chance to provide more information to help the immigration officer make a determination on your petition. Second, carefully read the letter to see what information the officer is requesting so that you can supplement and support your petition and providing them with the information that they're looking for. And third, consider new approaches when you're responding to the request for evidence to include new ways for you to strengthen your case. And lastly, do not miss the deadline. Super important. Of course, if you need more support with responding to a request for evidence, we at D4U USA are here to help. And again, I invite you to email us so that we can help strengthen your EB2 National Interest Waiver petition. I'll see you on the next one.